Welcome to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends, the podcast where we explore life, career, relationships, and pop culture through a Christian conservative perspective. Each episode, we dive into deep topics that matter most to us women, from navigating your career with grace and confidence to watering meaningful relationships grounded in faith. We're here to empower you to embrace your femininity and stand firm in your beliefs. We'll also tackle the latest in pop culture, discussing how they align or clash with our values. Let's uncover the truth and encourage each other to live boldly and authentically. So whether you're at home or on your commute, get ready for some fabulous conversations. Grab your teacup, pour yourself some tea. Come on, girlies, we're changing culture. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy! Hello, everyone. You are listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mal, your gal pal, and we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Welcome back. It has been a minute. Has anything significant happened in this last month? JK, yes, we all know. A lot has changed. And it has been a minute. Last time I posted, or last episode was out maybe a month ago, in the middle of a series that I love, and that's big. But I've had some personal things going on. The world has some things going on. And I'm going to get back to the series, but I didn't want to do that without coming on and talking about things first. I kind of wanted to address everything. So a lot has changed in life. First, let's talk about in my personal life. Nothing I can share right now, but some things have been going on in my personal life, and I just needed to take a tiny little step back for a second, readjusting things and blah, blah, blah. So that's why there was a pause. The series is really important to me, as I said, and I'm excited for you guys to continue. I have some really good episodes coming out, and then I'm going to do something a little bit more with it, and then I'm going to do a series on something else that's been going on in my life that I'm really excited about and people have asked for. So that's the other cool thing too. People back. So I'm going to do that. And Those Are the Girls is going to continue to be a podcast. It's going to shift a little bit more in focus. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in today's episode. Worldwide. So a couple things have happened this month. I live in Charlotte. So I actually knew about the horrific stabbing that happened back in August. So I knew about that before other people did. And our GOP had actually raised the flag of hey, crime's getting out of control, we must do something. And then the video was released and the whole world saw it. And things that was very heavy. It was unprovoked. It was awful. And it was someone who had already been arrested 14 times, someone who should not have been out. And what's so crazy is personally, some people have asked, I take the light rail. Oh, okay. I First of all, I hate driving. I'm one of the if I ever got rich, my get rich thing will be to have a driver. Not a chef, nothing like that. I want a driver. So I hate driving. And to go to Uptown and South End and Charlotte, if you're gonna go do something up there, it's really, it's driving up there is awful to me. I have tons of friends that do it, don't care. So what I always do is I park there's a light rail that's about 12 minutes from my house. Park, and it's the furthest out there light rail. The rail doesn't come all the way out to where I live, but park at the light rail, hop on that light rail. I think it's like $5. Take the light rail in and then take it back out. You don't have to worry about parking. And it's free to park at the light rail. To get on the train, like I said, you gotta buy a ticket. It's like $5. I think last time I did it. Last couple times I went up to the South End, I rode with somebody. But if I can't ride with someone, I'm going to take the light rail. That's one thing about me. I'm gonna hop on that light rail. So it was kind of almost too close to home. I've never had anything like that happen so close to home to me. Nothing that got that big, and so that was just awful. And thankfully, the MEC GOP put together a visual, and there's a lot of things that are going to be moving to so that something like that does not happen again. And so yeah, so that was really heavy. And then of course, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And that was, for lack of a better word, devastated. I could not believe that. I don't really want to talk too much about either one of those, specifically the Charlie Kirk thing, because I'll explain why I am taking a back seat in this. I really am kind of grossed out with the culture, with the attitude of having to be the first to know everything and then get stuff out. There are people who are saying that they have this special knowledge about what has happened and that they are the ones who just know. And they have to get this information out. And, even when they were trying to find who the shooter was, it was this person, then it was this person, it was this person. I am not cut out for that aspect of this quote unquote job. I would rather like sit back and wait and see what's going on before I start making a bunch of like this and that. Can you guys believe this? That's not for me. I don't think that's helpful. I don't think that's beneficial. I definitely think that like, you can express your condolences, talk about how, what is so different? So, people have been asking, why is this resonating with so many people? What is so different about this than so many other shootings that have happened? I think two of the main things. Number one is that unfortunately, it's become more common for politicians to be shot at. They are consistently bring up the politicians that were shot in Minnesota. Because of my job, I did know about that. I did post about that. If you look back, I did my part. Y'all might not have, but I did. I knew about that. I said that was awful. And that also that's not good. It's not right that happened, but they're politicians and unfortunately, that's the world we live in, that sometimes these things happen. Politicians, their staff even get death threats and it's awful and terrible. But unfortunately, that's kind of part of the job. Where Charlie is different is that he was just a regular citizen trying to have conversations and make a difference in that respect. He was not a politician. He was not, he was just a regular citizen, not part of the government. Like I said, a regular citizen. And I think that is the part that is, to me, scary. And I think that's the part that just makes this so much more different than any of the others things that have happened. That's the first part of it, why. And the second part is I really thank God I did not see the video. I'm so glad I did not see the video. I saw like a wide shot video, but I did not see the zoomed in. A lot of people I know saw it. I know people that saw it and it made them sick. I know people that saw it that it made them like had nightmares. Thank God I didn't. As soon as I saw that, like someone said, if you don't want to see the video, put your turn your auto play off. I did. Thank God. And it's been annoying because there's been videos that I'm like, oh, nice if it autoplayed, but I just never want to be in that situation ever again. That it could even possibly happen. So like, oh well, no autopay for me. Which Elon, if you're listening, like that type of should not. There's no reason that should be on Twitter. I'm sorry, and I think that was so traumatic for a lot of people. I'm not one of those. I don't like to use the term traumatic and trauma. Like I definitely think those words are overused, but I don't know another word to say. I think that just really affected people. And yeah. So I think that's what makes it different. Like I said, I mean, it's awful. Like when I think too much about it, like it makes me cry. It's just so awful. And he has a wife who I am learning more about, who I kind of really like her. Like I have nothing against her. It's really cool. Got married at 32 and had kids, I believe 33 and 35. And she was a CEO of a company and she's all of these really cool things. And she's oh my goodness, a very strong one. When she said that I forgive, so obviously, we as Christians, that's what we're supposed to do. I would like to believe that we all would. Every Christian would go up there and say, I forgive him, but the actual application of it I think is truly difficult. And I mean Wonderful woman. I wish her nothing but the best. I hope, yeah. And the kids, oh, when I think about the kids, it's just, I mean, it's just so sad. Because at the end of the day, whether you liked what he had to say or not, he was just expressing an opinion. And I think the part that's like very concerning and about the whole thing is that people, it just kind of goes to like where we are in society, where people truly do think that words can be violent as opposed to actual violence. And I'll never forget a couple years ago, maybe like 10, 20, 25, maybe like 10, um, 10ish years ago, when people started doing the your words are violence thing. And I remember I had a friend share that. And I remember thinking, like, that doesn't really make sense. Your words cannot be violent. Your words can be mean, like they can hurt, but your words cannot be violent. And I think that when we start using hyperbole to describe words and how things made us feel, I think that is where we we're losing conversation. That is where things go off the rail. Because if you truly think, like, here's the truth of the matter. If you truly think someone is this evil, awful person, then so many things are justified because of that. And we saw that as the people on the left reacted. Not everyone who's on the left or liberal or Democrat reacted that way. I'll say I have some friends that are, I'll say, left of center, that were horrified. I wouldn't say they're far left, but they're left of center and they were horrified. But some of the people, especially online, the way they reacted goes to show, like, if we have made like words like that, if someone says something or that we don't like, we have turned it into this thing of like they are using actual violence, and it's kind of scary. I mean, this is not good. Like, this was not a good thing to happen. It's not positive. No, this was not a move in the right direction. It was nothing like that. This is scary and, like, concerned about what's going to happen in the future, if I'm being honest. But I do know, God's in control. We can't, no need to be afraid or cause scenes. God's in control. But it does beg the question, like, what does this look like for our future? Okay. So that is the other thing. That's the main thing I wanted to say about that. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and speculate this thing happened. That's not for me. That's not for me. I don't want to be that person. I don't think I am that person. I think that person is not helpful. So I'm not going to sit there and speculate, but yeah. I just pray for his family, his friends, his loved ones. And I shared this on my Instagram story. I had some really great experiences because of Turning Point and directly because of him in my youth. I say youth, but like mid to mid 20s, early to mid 20s. I had some really cool experiences in my early to mid 20s because of Turning Point. I met some really great people. So it's just, I mean, it's devastating. It's devastating. So yeah, so that is what I want to say about that. And I want to kind of transition to something that I've been thinking about and I talk about on the podcast a lot. Oh, actually, I want to say something else too about both of those things, about what happened to Iryna and what happened to Charlie, and some of the other crazy things that have happened this month. There was another school shooting. I think there's been two school shootings recently. There was the shooting at an ICE detainment and all this stuff. I think it's just a reminder that for those of us who are Christians, that we do live in a fallen world, and it's all really heavy. Oh, and then um Pastor Boldy died. He died. It sounds like a health complication, so that wasn't necessarily like a. But anyway, it's just been a heavy. It's been a heavy month. Like, let's be honest. And I think that we live in a sinful, fallen world, and it just feels like this month it was like very more evident, like in the broader thing, and even like. Here's the thing, all these things are happening like around us. And there's the people who are struggling in their own personal life. Like, I have some things going on in my own personal life too. And it's just a reminder that we live in this fallen world, and like, God is sovereign. God is the only one who can make things, give us peace in this. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, God is the only one that can give us peace in this moment. There is, at least for me, there is nothing external, you know, there's obviously, bad things happen, so you want to do these different external things to make it better. But the only thing that can do that, especially when things are just this heavy, is God. God is the only one who can give us peace in this. Let's see here. And the last thing I want to say is, like I mentioned, I don't want to be someone to rush to make comments. I also don't want to be someone to rush and politicize things. Politics are in everything. Almost everything is political. And obviously, the assassination was 110% political. And policies are the reason, bad policies are the reason why Iryna was murdered, brutally murdered, in an innocent woman. So obviously politics do have a part of it. Obviously politics plays a role, but I just think it's important for us not to just automatically, every time a tragedy happens, it just seems like everybody goes online and like, whose side was he on? And I think we just got to take a step back and, I don't, once again, that's not for me. There's people who do this podcasting, commentating, that's their whole thing. That's, you're not going to get that here. If you're looking for that, like, you can go to other people. I'm not going to be the one to do that. And that hurts the numbers clearly, but that's just not who I am. So I'm not going to be that. I want to take the time to see what happens. So yeah, so here. So I kind of want to transition and talk about something that I've talked about before and that now more than anything I've been thinking about because of, Charlie Kirk's death and like the legacy that he has left behind. And, so many videos, so many tributes of all these people talking about how he's touched them. Like, what an amazing, like, feeling to know that your life was important. Like, you were significant. There are people who are at church because of you, like, there are people who have been impacted by your life for the better. Like that, what an amazing legacy. It must feel amazing to have happened. And that's something I've been thinking about. And I kind of wanted to talk about this. I want to ask like a couple of questions for you guys listening. So take out your journals. And these are just some of the things I've been thinking of myself. And it'd be really nice if all of us, like including myself, if we all kind of sat down and like thought these things through. Because here's the other thing too, like when these things happen, we're in the middle of a possible positive movement. This, now more than ever, it is much more possible positive movement. The only way the movement can move forward, the only way that it's actually like an impact is if you do something. And I'm going to try my best not to come off as like cynical or like high and mighty, like I know these things, but whenever conversations are like, we're in revival, this is the time, we're going to make these changes, I always wonder, like, is that just, are we just all excited and on a high, or is this truly like a revival? Like, is something really going to happen? Because you can say, this is what I'm going to, yeah, this is it, but like if you don't actually have a plan, if you're like, you know what, this impacted me, I'm going to make some changes in my life, and you don't like write it out, if you don't actually sit down and think it through, then nothing's going to change. You're just talking, you're just caught up in the emotions of the movement of the moment. So I really think this is important. If you truly want to make a change, if you truly want to have a legacy, if you truly want something to happen, I think it's important to actually like sit back and think about these things. So I have some questions that I came up with and chat helped with. Um so here's some of the questions. When we're thinking about like our legacy, like when you hear legacy, like what is it that you think of specifically? Are you thinking of like money? Are you thinking of fame? If you're thinking of children, if you're thinking of having your name on a building, having a foundation, like when you think of legacy, like what is it that you specifically think of? And then I guess the next thing is like, when you think of legacy, when you write down legacy, the big picture, and then when you think of next, it's like, what is your legacy that you want to do? Like, how do you personally want to make this difference? And then lastly, like, what are the choices you have to make? What are the things you have to do? And then put down a time. I know, like, I get frustrated when I don't meet my timelines and my friends are like, oh, they're just arbitrary. But like, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. You know, to me, at some point, you got to actually like do something. And I think that that's where a lot of people, like, I see it in my personal life with like people I know. Like, sometimes people say things, but they're not doing anything. You have to like do something. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, especially how big of the dream it is, like what you want. And it takes work and sacrifice. And that's another thing, too. And then I've been going through and working on myself is work, sacrifice, and discipline. Discipline is something that I think I struggle with. I mean, obviously, I struggle with discipline. And I think a lot of people do. And that is like the way we're going to make differences, the way we're going to do stuff is through discipline and like actually working and like making the choice to do something. I think sometimes we just, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm changed, and then nothing changes. So then, a year from now, there really wasn't any, the needle didn't move. Okay. Another question I want to ask, are your daily routines aligned with the legacy you want to leave? That is something I've also, in weight loss world, one of the things and like living your life improvement world, self-improvement world, one of the things to talk about is like, are you the person you want to be a year from now? Are you doing the things that that person would be doing? So a year from now, I'll use losing weight, for example. A year from now, I'd like to be not fat. I'd like to be skinny. A year from now, is skinny me going to get a cake pop from Starbucks? That's just an example. I don't do that. But this is an example. Is skinny me going to get a cake pop from Starbucks? Probably not, because she's skinny. So then me, not skinny, me, fat me, should not go and get that cake pop. That's the type of mindset. So are you doing, if your legacy you want to leave is X, Y, and Z, are you doing the things right now that that person would be doing? Think about that. And then last thing is, what is something you want to pass on to the next generation? And it doesn't have to be this big. I mean, it'd be amazing if it's, as big as Charlie. I don't know if that's possible for you or me. It could be in your church. It could be in the community you're in. What is something you want to leave for the next generation? I think that is a big question. Um, and then, sorry, another thing. Are you impacting anyone's life right now? Truly, are you impacting anyone's life? I can say that I don't feel as if I'm impacting anyone's life at this moment. Okay, so then what do you need to do that? Do you need to work on some things within yourself and then be able to do that? Do you need to, what I'm thinking of personally is I'm going through a new members class at this new church, and then I want to sign up to do children's church. That type of thing. Like, what do you need to do to get there? The reason, especially those of us who are single, and I'll get to that in a second, like, this is a time where we should be serving people, where we should be helping people, where we can have a huge impact on people's lives. Because we have the time. We have the time. This is time to be selfless. Now, so that's part A about, that was subsection A on point 2 of Charlie's passing. The next point is about boldness and truth. I've been thinking about this a lot. And boldness, I think now is the time for many of us to be bolder. And this doesn't mean, and if you listen to Morgan's podcast, I think Morgan talked a lot. She did such a good talking about, like, in the workforce, as a Christian and a conservative, should you, someone asks your pronouns, you go, what? You ask me my pronoun? How dare you? Or do you go, I'm Mallory, she, like, she, her, Mallory, I'm a female, like, just reaffirm the truth, the biological truth, or do you call it the big C? So we talked about that. That's in the episode. I think everyone should listen to it. I'm going to promote it more. And like I said, we're going to do more about it. And I think that is also being bold. Being bold is not being loud and like being obnoxious to people, like, how dare you ask me my pronoun? Like, that is not being bold. That's not being bold. And that's also, I'd go ahead and say that's also not effective, acting that way. I think the most effective is keeping your wits about you, first of all. Keeping your wits about you. And the most effective is being strong in the truth. And I think when people say bold, I think people automatically think that we mean that. They automatically think that we mean being loud and dramatic. But really, it's just doing small things that open conversation. Like that's how you're really, for your coworkers, for example, inviting someone to church. You guys are having conversation, inviting someone to church. It's, living in truth. It's your coworkers are having a conversation talking about someone and stepping away and saying, actually, I'm not going to gossip about them. Or, your coworker is having a mental breakdown, going over and offering comfort and peace, maybe praying for them if they would allow that. Like that is being bold. That is taking a step out. And I'm not saying, cause do being loud and dramatic, that's, whatever. But I'm saying like another option of being bold is taking the step and like stepping outside. Because here's even like offering your coworker comfort and peace and praying for them. That is a bold step, because the reality is a lot of people don't even do that. A lot of people see people having mental breakdowns and go, oof, that sucks, and they move right along. Or people see you know you hear your friends going through something and you just move forward. Or everybody's gossiping and some people just go yeah for and like add to it, as opposed to saying, you know what, no, like I'm not going to participate in this. And here's why I'm not participating in this: because I'm a Christian and I am trying to be better at that. Not cursing, that's bold. Things like that. Okay, that is another example of boldness. So you don't have to feel like you have to be this like loud and dramatic and causing a scene everywhere you go. And it can happen in so many different ways. Other ways, you can pray before lunch, pray before your lunch at work, even in the way you dress. Everybody at work is wearing X, Y, and Z, and you're choosing to wear something else. It's just so many different things. Like, just think about that and like asking God, being obedient when He says that X, Y, Z. These are ways that you can be bold. And I just want to keep reiterating, boldness does not mean like just being loud and dramatic. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot, is like, it's not always being loud and dramatic. Boldness is just, there's tiny ways every day that you can do that. And that's a good witness. That's a really good witness. And being bold on your social media, sharing things in your story about, obviously, I'm going to say life, about the life issue and about, conservatism and these things like that, and having conversations and reminding yourself that like the purpose of you sharing this and having conversations with your friends isn't to win the argument, it's to win someone's soul. It's because you want them to go to heaven. It's because you want them to be saved. You want them to know the full gospel and experience it. That's why you're doing it, not just to be like, and this is why I'm right. Okay, let's see here. Last thing I want to talk about, transitioning a little bit, is really getting like, and this is, I guess, subsection C, or that was B, C, whatever, of the thing, is getting more serious about our faith. And I mentioned it earlier, a lot of people are saying they had not been to church in years. They decided to go for Charlie. Beautiful. I mean, what an amazing witness. If you know someone personally who felt that way, I do believe it is your job, your role, to make sure that that continues. I'm trying not to be cynical, but my concern with all of this is that it's just temporary. For a real movement, for something to really happen, we need to be consistent. This needs to be something that you are intentionally doing, that you make an effort to do. And I think this is a time to really get more serious. Those of us who are Christians and who have been attending church and who, have been kind of like walking the walk, and we like, now is the time to be more intentional. Now is the time to be more serious. So one of the personal things going on, I am joining a PCA church, and that is a series that I will be doing because people have asked about it. It's a PCA church, reformed. I I do struggle with one of the 5 points of Calvinism, so I can't fully be like, yeah, I'm reformed. I can't sit there and say that. But that is the type of church I am going to. And when I tell you oh my goodness, I'll talk more about that. But my point is, like, one thing I do like about it is such emphasis on scripture and understanding what the Bible is actually saying, as opposed to, a lot of the non-denominational churches, especially in Charlotte. Right, currently, there's a church literally across the street from my neighborhood. I can walk it would be on the left side, the main elevation. I can walk there. A sidewalk goes from my door to, technically, there's like a couple breaks here or there, but technically there's a sidewalk from my door to the front of elevation through my neighborhood. And then maybe like a 3 or 4 minute drive, there's another church. Charlotte has churches everywhere, up the wazoo. There are a million churches. One thing that I have personally struggled with church wise is just finding a church that isn't just about like the emotions and like, the emotions and like adding things here and there in the Bible. And I was so grateful that I found this PCA church that is really like, this is what the Bible says, and going through the classes. I'm going through some classes and like learning about the history and things like that. And I feel so grateful for that. And I think that I'm not saying that everyone, and here's the other thing too, and I'll talk about this in the series. Like, as someone who went through, like, I was charismatic, really into all that stuff. As someone who went through that, it's hard not to be like, everybody, please come on, we gotta read the Bible, because like when you believe things that aren't true, like it hurts you, like it can affect you. It's hard to like not be that type of person, but that's where I'm at. So yeah. Sorry. So it's hard not to be like that person that's like, guys, come on and do this. But anyway, God can talk to you however he wants. He's sovereign. I'm not in control of that. So anyway, all that to say, like, this is a time to be like more in the word and to like be more focused. And I'm in a Bible study at my church. Training in the Truth is the name of it. It's an inductive study of First Timothy. This is it. And this is the first time I've read First Timothy all the way through. Becoming one of my favorite books of the Bible. Currently, it's Romans is my favorite book of the Bible. And then, I guess I can just put this right back here. And then, Esther is my favorite story for obvious reasons. So let's look at First Timothy, something I wanted to point out. This is just like something small I saw. First Timothy chapter 1 verse 4, or let's 4 and 3. As I urge you when I was going to Macedonia, remain at Ephesus so that you may charge certain persons not to teach any different doctrine, nor to devote themselves to myths and endless genealogies which promote speculation rather than stewardship from God that is by faith. The aim is our charge is love that issues from a pure heart and good conscience and a sincere faith. That's about false teachers, and that's just something that we are going through this very day. I want to talk about I want to read. So this is 1 Timothy 6. We can end on this. 1 Timothy 6, 11 and 12. But as for you, O man of God, flee these things. Pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, gentleness. Fight the good fight of faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called, and about which you made the good confession in the presence of many witnesses. I want to read what we are supposed to pursue: righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, and gentleness. And we are to fight the good fight of faith. And I think that is, for me, in this season, and reason why I want to share is that is really where I'm at. Like, really where it comes to the faith, pursuing righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, and gentleness. These are things that I think when we're talking about getting serious, these are some of the things. I mean, all throughout the Bible, there's other scriptures I can think of, but like, because this is what I'm reading for my Bible study. Really, it's a Bible class. It's not really like a Bible study. Like, we have home. It's a class, which I love, by the way. I don't really like other churches. You go to Bible study, you're reading how to be friends with other girls, or you're alone. Here's how to not be alone. Like, that's the type of Bible studies that all these non-denominational churches, and once again, I'm not trying to like dog them. I'm just saying all these non-denominational churches very much like, stuff like that. And like this is like, okay, what is this? And tons of anyway. So one more time. Pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, and gentleness. And like I said, I'm thinking of these things because this is what I'm learning in my Bible class. And yeah. So I just think this is the time for that. And this is a time for us to really be intentional. And this is a time for us to make a change. Like, I think, and I'm talking to myself, like, I want this to be a turning point in my life and everyone else's around me. And I'm talking to myself because I just really am concerned that, like, we're saying this, or rah, let's do this, but nothing's actually going to happen. And the only way that it can happen is if you decide to do it. I decide to do it, and you decide to do it. Those are my thoughts. We will be back to regularly scheduled programming this next week. And then let's see here. Let me just make sure I said everything I need to say. Oh, I did want to say this. Yeah. Huh. Okay. So, like I said, these are my thoughts on everything, wrapping it up, and I just want you guys truly like think about legacy. Like think about if this is truly a turning point for you and for me, we have to actually do something. And the best way to do it is to write it down so you can, remember and know. But we have to actually do something. We cannot keep saying, yeah, this is different. And then like nothing in our lives has changed. If this is truly a turning point. So what I want you guys to do is get a cute journal. I'm actually going to buy one. I think I'm going to buy one. Well, I have a journal. Yeah, get a cute journal. I buy notebooks all the time. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna buy another one. Buy a cute journal, and have this be like your legacy journal. This is where you're gonna write the questions that I asked earlier. I'll do a graphic with that too. That'll accompany this episode. This is where you're gonna draft the journal. This is where you write down the legacy things. And then I want you to think about like, what is one bold thing that you can do this week? What is something bold? It could be at work, it could be with your kids. Another bold thing I think to do with your kids is and I said this at work, but also like when you go out, let's say you're out at a restaurant, like praying with over your food. Like to me that's bold because realistically, you don't go anywhere. They don't do that. That is something that I need to remember to do more with my friends when we go out to eat because I feel like we don't do that, and I want to be more intentional now. We're so hungry, we just eat, blah, blah, maybe go, but actually being bold and praying that like those are things like if you don't have kids, think of those things. Think of something bold that you can do this week, and then I think also this week, you know what? Everybody, let's read First Timothy. Let's read the whole. It's just chicks. It's just 6 chapters. Read all of First Timothy this week. Do that and let me know. Tag me in that. That is something that I want us to do. This episode is going to come out on a Thursday, so we have Thursday, Friday, all that week, the next week. Let us have our legacy, write our legacy, and like make plans. Let us do something bold, and then let's read First Timothy together. So, okay, that is how we're going to close it. And share with me if you want, like your legacy, what you think. You can email it to me or tag me or something like that. Yeah. So I hope you have a great rest of your week and share this with your friends. I just really think that if this is truly going to be the turning point, then like we have to do something. We have to. You and me. Like if we're really going to change culture and bring back traditional values, like we have to do something. So yeah. Okay. I hope you have a good rest of your day, night, evening, however, wherever you're listening. Bye.